Today we are going to discuss about the uh, final part of procurement, that is method of procurement, methods of procurement. So under the methods of procurement, we have almost 14 different methods of procurement in the government organizations, public enterprises, or public entities. So first, international competitive bidding, ICB, and national competitive bidding, NCB, limited or restricted international competitive bidding, and limited or restricted national competitive bidding, shopping or national shopping, direct contracting, repeat orders, force account, emergency procurement, community participation in procurement, direct contracting for Government of Sri Lanka funded projects, two-stage bidding, two-envelope system, pre-qualification of bidders, and finally, Swiss challenging. So we will discuss in today's session one by one. Let's see first international competitive bidding ICB. International means cross the border of the nation. So international competitive bidding refers to the method of procurement. So it's a method of procurement where the procuring entity, that is government organizations which are going to purchase something, the purchasing entity is required to give international publicity, right, at the time of purchase. So the invitation, the publication of the bid should get the international publicity to the procurement notice in various media to ensure maximum competition, right? So when in this method, when government organizations going to bid in this method, they have to publish the bid documents in international medias. It should reach international contractors, international bidders. So the procuring entity is required to advertise in one widely circulated national newspapers. Widely circulated national newspapers, right? So here in, for example, Sunday Observer can be accessible in all over the world by online, via online. Relevant websites where possible, the websites can be accessed anywhere in the world. Most importantly, internationally, such as UNDP, United Nations Development Bank, and the development gateways, dgMarket. So there are two different organizations, UNDP and development gateways, dgMarket. So I can show you if you want. Uh, I can. So this is the website of United Nations Development Program, UNDP, at UNDP, not UNDB, United Nations Development Program procurement notice. You can find a notice which is published by Sri Lanka, right? Uh, Conduct a partnership mapping and gap analysis with key stakeholders on preventing violent extremism and social cohesion related policy environment in Sri Lanka, right? And here this is the government request a proposal. It is internationally published. This is one example, right? To advertise tenders bids on international coverage, right? There are a lot of bids, right? So Turkey has called for one bid, Iraq has called another bid, Bangladesh has done, and likewise Albania, Indonesia, Colombia. So if you are an international supplier, international contractor, time to time you have to visit the website to find the tenders. So this is the dgMarket website. You can find tenders. Right? You can find many tenders. For example, Bangladesh has advertised here, and Senegal has advertised here. Contract award. Right? So when you click this, you can access the full detail. So this is one of the methods of publishing the procurement notice in internationally, such as in UNDP, not B, United Nations Development Program, and the development gateways dgMarket, and transmit such invitations to embassies, transmit such invitation to embassies and trade representatives of countries from where suppliers and contractors are likely to participate, and post them in relevant website. So if you want to publish in international coverage, you can submit the bid documents to the embassies, Embassy of Sri Lanka in United Kingdom, Embassy of Sri Lanka, USA, and USA. So likewise, you can send the procurement notice. They will but advertise in the notice board or in the website. And international competitive bidding shall be used. So when the government organization should use the international competitive bidding. Situation number one, when the capacity of the domestic contractors or suppliers and service providers are limited and the advantage of ICB is evident. So to construct this, the local uh, contractors capacity is not enough, and there should be a good argument, valid argument for in favor of ICB, which is getting more advantage. So for example, Port City Colombo, Sri Lankan contractors does not have enough capacity, so they have given the contract to Chinese corporation. And expressway projects again it goes to international bidding. The second situation for foreign funded projects, so Chinese funded projects, Chinese funded harbors or Indian funded harbors, like that. So, for example, you can say Victoria, Victoria Power Plant is funded by United Kingdom. So they have mentioned they have to, the Sri Lanka government have to go for international bidding. Foreign funded projects, when the foreign funding agency agreement requires the procuring entity to resort to ICB procedures. The funder, the foreign funder sometimes require the government organizations to go for international bidding. However, in case of works contracts, say construction of building, construction of roads, construction of harbor, construction of ports, construction of airport, like that works, mainly construction works. In view of the development of domestic construction industry, right, the domestic construction industry development, the possibility of slicing, so make it small part pieces, possibility of slicing the contract and following slice and package approach, right? So the whole contract is divided into several pieces, slices. And each slices will be advertised separately. To suit domestic contractors may be considered. And for the most of the times, the government focus on giving the contract for local parties. Then only our domestic construction industry will be developed. For that purpose, they can make it small pieces and award the contract to domestic contractors. Then with the second method is national comparative bidding. National comparative bidding. So earlier it was discussed about international bidding. Now we're going to discuss about national competitive bidding. National competitive bidding refers to the method of procurement where the procuring entity, the government organizations, is required to give national publicity. Required to give national publicity. No need, the international publicity is not mandatory here. To the procurement notice in various media to ensure maximum competition domestically. So at the time of advertisement, it should ensure that the maximum competition is out there in the local market. National competitive bidding is the competitive bidding procedure that shall be generally applicable for most government organizations, government of Sri Lankan funded projects. And the government funded projects, most of the times, will go for national competitive bidding. When national competitive bidding is used, the procurement notice should be advertised at least one widely circulated national newspapers. So when you see the Sunday Observer, Daily Mirror, Daily News, you can find there are a lot of advertisement bits, right? And national procurement agencies websites and other relevant websites where possible. And the procurement notice, the notice any supplier, service provider or contractor who desires to obtain the bidding document should be allowed to purchase should, should be allowed to purchase the bidding document, provided the bidders is prepared to pay any specified fees. So then the bid document is ready to issue to the local bidders at the fees specified in the bidding document. The contractor, supplier, or service provider should be allowed to purchase the bidding document up to the up to a day prior to the bid closing date. Say for example, the bid closing date is 31st January 2021. Even one bidder asked on 30th January 2021, the government organization should give the bid document, should issue the bid document to the contractor. In case of contract of works, especially construction, right? To be eligible for contract award, the domestic contractors shall have a valid and appropriate registration. They should have an appropriate registration at the time of submitting a bid. At the time of submitting a bid, they should have a valid registration under the National Registration System of ICTAD. Right? ICTAD is the institution which register contractors in Sri Lanka. Institute for Construction, Training and Development. That's called ICTAD. However, ICTAD registration should not be an eligible criteria for purchasing the bit of document or submitting of bit document. Right? The national competitive bidding in foreign funded projects shall be used, even though the project is funded by the foreign agencies. National competitive bidding also can be applied, but it should be with the agreement of the foreign funded agency. In case of foreign funded projects, go for NCB, national competitive bidding, they should have an agreement with them. By following foreign contractors, by allowing foreign contractors or suppliers, right, at the time of national competitive bidding, right, at the time the procuring entity should allow foreign contractors or suppliers to bid on the national competitive bidding terms with domestic contractors or suppliers. The same criteria applied for the domestic supplier or contractor will be applicable in the foreign contractors or suppliers. By not giving preference to the state-owned agencies or approved societies, etc. At that time, there is no discrimination among international organizations, international contractors, and local contractors, state-owned agencies like that. There's no discrimination. Purely be comparative, regardless whether national, international, or government, or private, or society. No. And by considering registration in appropriate category under the national registration system of Institute for Construction Training and Development, right? So in the local procurement, there's a registration, no? That's a criteria. There are different levels, but we cannot expect the same registration is taken by the international organization, international bidders. So that time there will be a contradictions. So that time the equivalent to the experience and qualification criteria described in the bidding document. In the bidding document. So when they receive the bidding document from the international organizations, most of the time they don't have registration at ICTAD. That time they have to consider the experiences and qualifications equivalent to ICTAD, the level. So for example, so in Sri Lankan education system, we follow GCE level and O level, but we couldn't find the same system in India or USA or Australia when we apply for higher studies. So that time they will check the equivalency of the qualifications, entry qualifications, equivalency of entry qualifications, like that. Limited or restricted international competitive bidding and limited or restricted national competitive bidding. Earlier we have discussed about open one, no? International competitive bidding or national competitive bidding. Now we talk about limited or restricted competitive biddings, nationally or nationally. These procedures, limited mean these procedures are followed when the invitation to bid is directly addressed to a pre-selected list of international or national suppliers or contracts. Here, there is no advertisement in the newspaper or website. So the bidding document, the invitations will be directly posted, mailed to a potential contractors, bidders. The procedure is chosen when only a few sources are available. Right? There are no much suppliers in the country or in the international wise. For example, we are going to get a landline telephone connection. Landline telephone connection. In Sri Lanka Telecom is only the sales provider. Then no need to advertise in the newspaper. Directly, the government organization can send the invitation to the SLT. All procedures followed under the international competitive bidding or national competitive bidding apply except the requirement for advertising the domestic preferences. Shopping, like we know, we normally do on the shopping. Likewise, government organization also can do shopping. There is no need to advertise bids. No need. Shopping is a method of procurement which is appropriate for procuring readily available off the shelf goods of small value. You know what is off the shelf goods? The items are already available in the market. And say we are going to purchase a tea packet or bread. It's available in the market. Right? We want to purchase, government organization want to purchase a Caesar, right? And the government organization want to purchase a small clock, alarm clock. It's readily available in the market. Small piece of items, small value items. So it's readily available off the shelf goods of small value. Small value commodities. Small value commodities for which specification are standard. Specification are standard. And small value works or services. So at this situation, government organization can go for shopping. The selection is based on comparison of price quotations obtained from several invited bidders. Say our department is going to purchase, say for example, what uh, a dream of paper, bundle of papers, right? Its specification is common. 80 GSM, it's everywhere is common, right? A4 sheet size is common everywhere. Then they no need to go for paper advertisement. Then they can uh, send some invitation for already predetermined suppliers. Shop X, shop Y, shop C, like that. Then they send the invitation. For that, they will return the price quotations. They put their price quotation and send back to the department. And the department, they will check the quotations and they will select the most appropriate one or the lowest cost quotations. Selection is based on comparison of price quotations obtained from several invited bidders. Request for quotations. Request for quotations shall be addressed to the individuals or firms drawn in a register of suppliers or contractors shall be indicate, right? Uh, every year, government organizations call for suppliers, registration of suppliers, and the organizations or firms or individuals will send their price quotations to the firm. So they keep as a database in the organization. Whenever the item required, they will go for that database and they will send invitation for that suppliers. Right? The description and quantity of the goods, the description and quantity of the goods should be there. Time and place of delivery should be there, and warranty should be mentioned if possible, if necessary. The comparison of quotations shall follow national competitive bidding principles wherever applicable. The terms of the accepted offers shall be incorporated in a purchase order. Right? That at the time of order, right? The term of the accepted offer shall be incorporated in the purchase order. Right? So I will show you uh, how they advertise for registration of supply. Yeah. Columbo Exchange registration of suppliers for the year 2021. So the CSC needs these items: PC, laptops, printers, scanners, network devices. Yeah, the categorized, no, it is categorized: computer hardware and software, computer software and applications, civil electrical and interior works, consumables, telephones, supply of installation of digital display units. So there are how many items? There are 28 items, including travel agents, taxi service, transport agents, insurance service, creative writing, repair and maintenance. Right. So if you are a shop owner willing to supply these items to CSC, you can prepare your price quotations and you can send to them. And here, this is the application form, supplier registration form. Right. From which you can register in the CSC for supplying items. And this is invitation for bids. Invitation for bid. University of Sri Jawatanapura. It's advertised for bid supplying and delivering of computer chairs, lecture hall chairs for the Faculty of Management, Commerce, Management Studies and Commerce. Right. So this is an example for invitation for bid. Invitation for bid. It was advertised on the 27th 2008. Right. The request for quotation shall be addressed to the individuals or firms born in the register of supplier, a contractor, and shall indicate items. The comparison of quotation shall follow national comparative bidding principles wherever applicable. The term of the accepted offer shall be incorporated in a purchase order. Now we'll see registration of suppliers. This procedure should be applied for procurement of items of small value, procurement item of small values, or purchase of items used frequently, for which advertising may uneconomical, right? Even to purchase small taxi service, it is not appropriate to advertise in the national newspaper whenever it's required. Right? So it's better to advertise at once for the registration of supplier. From that list, from that database, whenever the service required, whenever the items are required, they can send the invitation and they can get the item. The procuring entity may publish a notice for registration of suppliers and prepare a list comprising name of suppliers who are able to supply particular categories of goods and services such as stationery, electrical items, motor vehicle repair, etc. Periodical and publications. The procuring entity must confine shopping to names appearing on the list. Right? The procuring entity must confine shopping to the names appearing in the list. So whenever they make shopping, the bidder, the supplier should be registered in their list. The registered list of suppliers should be updated periodically, at least once a year. It should be updated periodically. The new firms will come and old firms sometimes may leave. Yellow pages and rainbow pages. We can find these pages in the Sri Lanka telephone dictionary. SLT telephone dictionary, we can find a separate section called yellow pages and rainbow pages. When the appropriate authority is satisfied, in the case of supplier of goods, that sufficient number of reputed vendors are registered in the yellow pages and rainbow pages, quotation may be invented from that list. So without call for registration for suppliers, then if the procuring entity is satisfied, the vendors listed in the yellow pages or rainbow pages is enough, sufficient, then they can go for in that page, that the vendors, and they can send the invitation for quotation in that organizations listed in the rainbow pages or yellow pages in the SLT telephone dictionary. Next, direct contracting, direct, one-to-one, direct. Direct contracting is a means of procurement of good or service or works from a single supplier source. From a single supplier source. As I told you as an example, we want to get a telephone connection, landline telephone connection. So where we want to go for? Definitely we have to go for Sri Lanka Telecom. Right? This is what? This is an example for direct contracting. There's only one single service provider, supply provider. It entails no competition. It entails no competition and shall be used only under exceptional circumstances, not all the times. When direct contracting is used under any of the following reasons, the value of the procurement shall be subject to the upper limits given under the guidelines. So when the organization go for direct contracting, there is a upper limit which is given under the guideline. This method is appropriate under the following circumstances. Number one, when the price or rates are fixed pursuant to legislation by regulatory bodies. The price is fixed. And standardization of equipment for a compatibility with existing equipment may justify additional purchase of the same type of goods. Already we have a plant. Already we have SLT connection, SLT network in our institution. It is not to go for another organizations to provide sub service on that. It's not good. So it's better to, and it is very comfortable to get the service from the existing supplier. The standardize of equipment and compatibility. In such purchases, the number of such items in the new procurement shall generally be less than 50% of existing numbers. And earlier we purchased 10 items earlier. At the second time for direct contracting, it is they can't go for maximum. They can't go for above five. Above five, right? They are limited to 5 numbers. So that is 50%. They can't go. They can't go for direct contracting for above 50%. The price shall be reasonable, right? Direct contracting, the price would be reasonable one. The advantage of another make or source of equipment that have been considered. Advantage also should be considered. The required equipment is proprietary and obtainable only from one source, such as proprietary software, textbooks, spare parts, defense items, like that. Right? Say going to purchase a book, marketing management. It is published by Pearson. So there's no options. We have to purchase from the Pearson. So we can't purchase the Pearson published book from the Macro Hills. Right? And the QuickBook software is purchased from the QuickBook publisher, the Sage, no? Should be purchased from Sage, not from IBM. Right? And spare parts. So Toyota vehicle, the spare parts should be purchased from the Toyota, not from the Mitsubishi or another Honda or somewhere else. So like that. The process design requires the purchase of critical item from a particular supplier as a condition of performance guidance. Right? The process design requires the purchase of critical items from a particular supplier as a condition of performance guarantee. The repeat order. Next method is repeat order. Repeat order means sometimes we call reorder. Reorder. Second time or third time also order. Order placed with original supplier over a short period of time. Order placed with the original supplier over a short period of time for supply of the same goods shall be considered as repeat order. Say for example, earlier we have purchased, the common organization was purchased laptops, 10 laptops. Again, the organization purchased few laptops from the same organization. It's called repeat order. Purchase from the same supplier, same item. Repeat orders for the procurement of goods may be authorized only in exceptional circumstances up to a limit of 50% of the original contract value. So earlier, if we purchased for 10 million, at the time repeat order, we can't go, the organization can't go for more than 5 million. The initial purchase was 10 million. The repeat order not exceed 5 million. So provided that not more than 6-month period has lapsed. So the repeat order should be within the 6 months from the initial order, from the date of award of the original contract. And the procuring entity certified that at the time when go for repeat order, the procuring entity should certify that the necessity for additional requirement was not foreseen and identified at the time of original invitation to bid was issued. So initially, the organization advertised to purchase 100 laptops, 100 laptops. So after 2-3 months, again they want another 20 laptops. So then they go for repeat orders. So the condition is that at the initial purchase order, initial advertisement, the procure entity unable to forecast the additional units of requirement. It is not economical to follow the bidding procedure again. So already purchased 100 laptops. So new staff come to the office, to the organization. So to give laptop for that office, that staff, they want to purchase another new one laptop. So for that one laptop, it is not good to advertise again. It is not good for the opening national competitive biddings to purchase just one laptop. So it's better to purchase laptop from the existing supplier. Price of goods have not dropped since the original order. The price also not dropped. So at the time of purchase, the price was 50,000. Now in the market price is 30,000. This time, the organization is not allowed to go for repeat orders because the price is now reduced. Appropriate procuring committee has no objection. There is no objection, no issue, no objection to such repeat orders. Prior to the placement of repeat orders, the procuring committee shall use its best endeavor to negotiate with the supplier to obtain more favorable terms and conditions. So at the second time, uh, go for purchase, they have to give a negotiation, good negotiation, to give more flexible, the more discounted or more favorable terms. However, if the procuring committee is of the view that the price of particular items display downward trends, now the price is going down, price is downward trends, the repeat orders should not be authorized. Right? The procuring committee should ensure that are there any price fluctuations at the time of procuring order. If the price is in decrease in trend, declining, the procuring committee not give approval, not authorize purchase items on repeat orders. Force account mean. And the force account means the execution of works by using procuring entities on personnel and equipment. So it means the procuring entity do the construction work of the service provided by its own employees and own equipments, not from the external persons, external organizations. Right? The organization do their own works themselves. Force account means the execution of works by using the procuring entities on personnel, on employees and equipment. If the procuring entity determines that it has required workforce to undertake execution of such work, this method is appropriate in the following circumstances. So when we see the army camp, the STF camps, most of the works done by themselves. by considering national security and the security of the camp, right? Third party is normally not allowed to go inside. So that time, uh, the people within the camp will be used to construct some works. When quantities are difficult to define in advance, when quantities are difficult to define in advance, contractors are unlikely to bid at reasonable price. Contractors, external contractors are unlikely to bid a reasonable price. They are putting higher price, very high price. Work should be carried out without interrupting the ongoing work. First, should be carried out without interrupting the ongoing work. Emergency situation that needs urgent attention. Now we'll see emergency procurement. Emergency. A procuring entity may utilize this method of procurement, emergency, when in exceptional circumstances, such as man-made or natural disaster. We can say, for example, as Easter Sunday attack is a man-made disaster, and natural disaster, tsunami, and earthquake, landslips. So this is an example for natural disasters. And to meet unforeseen social obligations, such similar situations which shall be determined and declared by government of Sri Lanka as being an emergency situation which warrants procurement under the provisions contained herein. Unforeseen social obligations. So that time government will declare the emergency situation. That time government organizations can follow this method, emergency procurement. To initiate procurement exceeding the financial threshold, there's a limit to purchase 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, like that. Threshold stipulated under the guidelines 2.14. A formal approval, right? Even though in case of emergency, to initiate the procurement and above the certain threshold, a formal approval shall be obtained from the relevant authorities, at the first available opportunity. Provisions available to meet emergency procurement needs. What are the provisions? Provisions for emergency procurement needs. For works not exceeding 25 million rupees, not exceeding 25 million, the procuring entity may also use any of the following provisions to meet the emergency procurement requirement. The bidding document will disclose an itemized priced bill of quantities, itemized priced bills of quantity based on the engineers or consultant estimate. So, for example, sometimes during the earthquake or tsunami, the government wanted to establish shelters, temporary shelters or temporary tents. So that time it is the government does not have enough time to call for a quotation to establish to to construct small tents. At that time, they can go for emergency procurement, and there's a limit. That the limit is 25 million. So already in the government organization, they have a bill of quantities. They already prepared, already defined the cost of the works. Right? It was prepared by the engineers and consultants in the organization. Before constructing a tent, and already the price estimate is available in the DS office or other government organization. In case of such situations, they will get the bill of quantities. The The bidding document will be disclosed an itemized price bills of quantity based on the engineers or consultants estimate. All bidders who participate in bidding will be allowed to bid a percentage above or below engineers consultants estimate. So when the others bid, the price fluctuation, there should be a range, high or less 5% from the bidding price, the bill of quantities price, which was estimated by the consultants or engineers. All bidders who participate in the bidding will be allowed to bid a percentage above or below the engineer's consultant's estimate. Details of emergency procurement is given in the procurement manual 3.8.1. The lowest bid price is selected as the winner, right? The bidder who bid at lower price is the winner, provided the bid is substantially responsive, right? Even the lowest price, that bid should be substantially responsive. Otherwise, the bidding period may be reduced to 3 days. The bidding period is reduced to 3 days in case of limited bidding. Limited bidding means the government organization send invitation to the bidders by invitation, and 7 days when open advertisement. If it is an open advertisement, it's 7 days. If it's limited one, it's 3 days. The concession given to the suppliers and the contractors in respect to the advance payment and interim payments will be determined by National Procurement Agency, and detail will be included in updated circulars as and when required. That in when government organizations get the service immediately, emergency, most of the time the suppliers or the bidders does not have enough financial capacity. That time procuring entity will give some concessories or sometimes give some advance payment and interim payments. Lump sum contract shall be used whenever possible with milestone payment identified at intermediate levels. Purchase from government institution must be given preference. Government organizations, so there are government organizations which provide constructions service and the suppliers, for example, State Trading Corporation is the government organization. So when get the quotations in emergency purchase, so the procuring entity gives more preference for such government organizations. And